All right, perfect. Hello, good morning, and welcome to GPC. Today we're going to be talking about our top 10 programming hot takes. May not actually be top 10.
May not be actually 10.
So yeah, once again, good morning as per always. What we're going to be doing today is talking about our hot takes, giving the floor to you guys, and having a few announcements to make at the end. So to get us started, Bilal wanted to share one of his very spicy hot takes on how you are programming.
And how it's wrong specifically.
Let me explain what you want.
And how I'm right. And better than you. But
Mike's over there.
anyhow. Okay. Alright. So basically, mine is on inheritance and why it's an anti-pattern. Now, so the reason inheritance is an anti-pattern is because, well, if you think about it, right? What do you use inheritance for, right? You use it to reuse code, typically, from a parent class in a child class. Now, of course, it does a pretty bad job at this because, A, you can't share data horizontally. So say you have a enemy, or say you have a dog, right, that has a bark method, and say you have a wolf that also has a bark method that's the same as the dog's, but they both inherit from animal. So you need to put the bark method in animal for them both to have it, right? But then say you have a cat, right? Cats don't bark, so like it breaks down when you look at it that way.
Just make it make sound function.
Okay, well, yes, you could do that, but like there are instances where you can't just do that. That may have been a bad example, whatever. Whatever, okay. I do have an example, but I just thought about that. Okay, so in large code bases, there's another issue. You need complex hierarchies of inheritance. Now, the thing to the right isn't really a complex inheritance hierarchy. It's just what I could find online, and also it's a meme. But like it is true. That's what happens when you have a ton of inheritance. And also that's about object-oriented programming, which is also an anti-pattern, but we don't want to get into that there. So even sharing vertically, you can only do so to a limited extent, right? Because your child class has to have the same sort of structure as your base class. So say you have a base class that's like an animal, right? And then you have fly in the base class. Now all your children need fly methods. Now, of course, you could have a fly method that does nothing. But of course, that's just like clutter, right? You have to put a fly method in everything, and it's just better not to. And there's another issue, which is fragile base classes, where I wanted to write this out on the board, but like most of you are in Discord, so clearly not.
I can check if our webcam works real quick.
Yeah.
Give me a moment. It's using OBS. Don't worry about that. Oh my God!
Does it work?
I was gonna say it actually worked for once, but no, it's gray. Oh wait, no, it is working. Why is it gray? Can you guys see our? Can you see our faces?
It says it's loading.
Oh, I also see it loading on my end.
Yep.
Shout out to Asus laptops having the friggin' worst webcams ever. Wow.
Okay, whatever. I'll just imagine. I guess you can't really imagine what I'm writing on the board.
Wait. Oh, I just realized why it's not working. OBS took control of my website.
Hey,
Perfect.
Yo, all right. So where's the?
I like how they
marker?
have a wall. It's not marker. You have to use the whiteboard.
Oh,
but hey, that actually gets covered better by the camera.
Hey, perfect.
There's an eraser right there. Go explain to us why.
That would be a good idea.
Go explain to us why inheritance is an anti-pattern.
All right.
Professor.
So, yes, that's Anyhow, yeah.
You'll
so
be chasing
basically,
that a lot. by the way.
People
Fragile
here even
base
know what
classes.
an anti-pattern is. Do our section attendees even know what an anti-pattern is?
You should have explained.
It's basically just a structure, I guess, or a way of programming that is bad, essentially.
It's just bad?
It's just bad.
That's it? That's it?
Well, there are specific reasons for why, so I'm getting into right now, but yeah. So basically, fragile base classes. So say you have a class N, right? And say it has two methods, right? Which is M and I don't
Also, the
know, B.
webcam is not on.
I just
It's not
I just
worried
realized.
about it.
Here, you know what?
Just open up like whatchamacallit.
Here. It's very jank. Here you go.
Okay, well, I mean that works. So yeah. So you have a class N, and then you have M and B, right? And say M does like, I don't know, say like increment something or something. right? And well, I can't write code.
You're covering the text, by the way. Just move over.
I am okay.
I'm actually gonna move the camera face it, whatever. Who cares?
That's fine.
Yeah. So you have method M, and then it does that, and then you have method D, which calls method M, right?
Okay.
So this is perfectly fine code, right? Like nothing wrong with this. But say you have a deriving class, I don't know, let's call it lowercase n, and it overrides M, right? So it has its own M,
Right.
but this M calls B.
Okay.
Well, now if you call M on the base class, it'll call B, which calls M, which will call M, which will call B. So you have a infinite recursive loop, and that's of course bad. So that's the fragile base class problem, where a change in the child class that's seemingly innocuous
Can I solve this
actually
code
breaks
for
your
you?
whole program.
You just gotta add base over here, and now you've solved your problem.
Yes, but you know what?
Based on what?
Based on what
Your
exactly?
analogy keeps falling apart, mister.
Well, okay, I'm making this stuff up pretty much, okay?
Oh my God.
I didn't bring
Now we know
solid-
why he has a hot take.
I didn't
it's
bring
so hot,
solid-
it's falling apart in his
I
head.
didn't bring solid examples, but these are true. You can look them
That's
up.
straight out of InfoWars.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Shouldn't the joke be that there's no solid examples because it's an anti-pattern?
Well, whatever.
There's no
What's
solid.
the next slide? Go to the next slide.
Okay.
Next slide.
Whatever. Thank you, Bilal, for sharing your
But
information.
anyhow, that is true. Okay, inheritance is an anti-pattern. Just
Yes, correct. You're right.
There's some things to
Yeah,
learn.
yeah, wait, no, hold on. I forgot the
Fragile
nuance.
base class is absolutely an issue.
Yes,
Hold on.
okay,
You know what, just finish
I forgot the nuance.
Yes,
Yes.
then moved off the stage.
Just finish off what
Yes.
you wanted to say.
Okay, yeah. So the nuance is you should favor composition and polymorphism over inheritance instead, typically. Though of course inheritance isn't always bad. Sometimes you can use it. Like of course, at the end of the day, just use whatever is best for your use case. Inheritance just tends to be a thing that beginners go to by default because it's like the first thing we're taught, right? In sort of object-oriented programming is inheritance. So a lot of people just use inheritance only, but like there are better patterns for sharing data, like composition and polymorphism. So yeah, just consider that over inheritance. But of course, if you want to use it, go ahead. It's not that bad.
Blow won't kill you.
Yeah, I won't only use
But
singletons, then I'll
yeah.
kill you. But otherwise,
You'll be seeing a lot of it depends a lot today.
Am I next?
Oh, it is actually you next. I thought it was Leo. How dare you mess with the order?
I just do that. Okay, so basically I'm here to say that for loop is awesome and for each sucks, except for in very specific situations. For loop is super versatile. Can I do my chalkboard explaining?
Okay, time to set that up again. You know what? Let's do this the easy way. Start virtual webcam so that I don't need to do
Wait,
it.
so I can actually completely go down.
I'm a professor now. I'm getting rid of Bilal's lesson.
Oh, and bam! Look at that. I gotta switch the webcam to be on OBS. You should be able to see us now. Hey, on the
my
webcam.
God.
If you're
Hi.
right-handed, go on the left side. The left side.
I am right-handed.
You're left-handed.
Yeah, I'm right-handed.
So then stand so you can draw like this. So then you don't cover it with your body.
Oh my god.
If I need to move the laptop, I can. Hopefully it's visible for you guys.
So this is legible, right? For loop has three parts. There's the initializer, the condition, and I forget the terminology here, so this is clearly falling apart.
The iterator.
The iterator, yes, the iterator is left.
And on the other side.
Stand on the other side? Okay.
Yes.
Is this visible
You
at all?
are definitely covering what you're writing.
Okay, is this visible at all?
Yes.
It's one of my laptops at an angle, so it's a little odd.
So for loops are great because conditional here, it can be nothing at all or it can be literally any Boolean whatsoever. Surely by now you know that there are so many ways to abuse just I need a true or false. The initializer, the way you're taught to do a for loop is just something like int I equals
0.
something. If you don't initialize a local variable for your for loop, you can put in a lot more things and you're not limited to just one. So if I declare like 3 variables up here, I could put 4 comma I equals this, J equals this. I just have to put commas between them. And it doesn't even have to be, I don't have to set values either. I can even like call a function or
Multiple functions too.
yeah, I can call multiple functions. I can call like async operations. And the same works for the end part here too. I'm not limited by just I++. I can do any other thing too.
And if you're in C++, you can also put anything in the middle because everything is a bool in C++.
Yes. So if you ever want to if you ever want to enter the obfuscated C contest, I think they still run that. Or if you want to enter the one-line C program competition, just use a for loop. Also, for loops are in some situations quite a bit faster than for each. For each is good for certain types of data if you're iterating through. I believe it's specific types of
Arrays.
Yeah, it's arrays. Some lists, I think, are easier. Also, I think personally the best use case for a for each is if it's something that you don't have an explicit like numerical index. Like if you're saying for each child in this game object, that's a good time to use it. Otherwise, though, if you can get the index, I'm going to use a for loop because of all the funky
Transform
stuff we
that
can do.
child, so.
Yeah. And my horribly frosty take is that personal biases are so fun, it is fantastic to pick a hill and die on it. But at the end of the day, sometimes you got to accept that there's a better tool for the job, and there are times where I will use a for each.
All right. That's from Joey. And now we're going to have, I'm not on the here.
Oh, that thing there is actual like C# that will run. It like prints out 3 lines.
Yeah, that's actually from the official Microsoft doc.
Yes, Microsoft has entered into curse code.
Microsoft has shared the curse code with us. Okay, so now we got Leo to bring us his hot take.
All right. So basically, on the topic of using the right tool for the job, if statements suck. So not only can if statements be incredibly inefficient in specific scenarios, thanks in part due to branch prediction, although keep in mind that computers are extremely efficient nowadays, it's genuinely a beginner's trap. If statement is like the universal tool I see beginners using. I've used it myself. They use it like crazy. They use it way too much. When they're trying, it's basically, the if statement is the hammer of programming languages. It's great at a lot of things, but god damn it, just use a screwdriver, you know? So you'll see in that GIF, that looks like it's looping. It is, but that's about 30, that's a 30-second GIF. This goes to 3,000 lines of code. And it's just in majority if statements that cover probably, and this is somebody's submission for an assignment.
This is Hunter's code.
This is Hunter's code.
You didn't interrupt. He gave us the okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no, I asked him for it. It's all good. So this is literally, it's 3,000 lines long, and a lot of it could be simplified to just for loops, functions, objects. But instead, it's because of
There's switches in there too.
There's a switch case in there too, but the but the
TLDR.
the TLDR of this is that there's always going to be a better tool, and if statements realistically are surprisingly like not the best tool for most jobs. And I'm sure that like you're always going to find like you can use math to get around it, a loop to get around it. There are so many better and other ways you can do certain things. Like here he's just doing a lot of incrementation adding and then calling functions within. It's, that's stuff that you could even do with a for loop if you were crazy enough, or,
I've done some weird for loops.
Exactly. There's a lot of different ways to do it, and doing a lot of if statements really isn't it. And
you can also minimize if statements with guard conditions.
Oh, that's the wrong light.
yes, I don't know what those are.
Basically, instead of doing a whole bunch of, it doesn't necessarily reduce your number of ifs in your code in general, but it can. It does reduce your amount of nesting for sure, though. It's when you check if, like, in a function, you check if, like, the condition that you want to exit on, you do that, like, first or earlier, instead of doing, like, all of your success conditions first.
I see. And also, all
yeah.
my homies use the ternary operator. It'll
So
probably.
real.
What's that?
Love the turnaround.
It's pretty useful, and realistically, though, its raw performance is extremely similar. Though in specific use cases, it will be faster than the if statement. But yeah.
There is also, as always, the good thing to note that the compiler is our friend, and it might already have been doing this for you for some of it, but not all the time. So it's not that bad to be considering all this.
If statements aren't
as you're writing code.
but, you know.
Who needs if statements when you have the for loop?
Yeah.
Who needs if statements when you have
Yeah, just have a for loop with the condition being false.
Yes.
Sorry, do once. Or that you would do a do while loop with the condition being false.
No, that Microsoft thing, it just does the entire program in the for loop
Yeah.
statement.
Also, in C++, you can put functions in the ternary because it also you can also do anything you want.
Yeah.
I want to remind people that C++.
Lambda in ternary, no?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So you just
I guess yeah, you can do lambda in ternary, but you can't return void in C#. In C++ you can because void is a valid return type.
We just have our own like localized obfuscated C font test.
We might start talking about some obfuscated C. All right, and lastly, let's talk about what I want to talk about. Probably not really a hot take, but local functions should be something you consider using. So, what are local functions? Well, they're stuff that are better than lambdas. Lambdas being delegates, delegates being function pointers. So when you define a function in your code, but you assign it to a func pointer. That's the C# version. In C#, they have also local functions, which is when you write a function definition inside of another function. I know it sounds weird, but it's really useful. Why? Well, it makes things more readable. By reducing the scope the function can reach, you're now not filling your object with every single local function that could have been local because it's only used in one context, but you wanted to use it to reduce how many times you wrote a line of code. One example is if you have a for loop that's initializing a bunch of objects, and you did that through a function because you had a lot of variables you had to set, and it was like, repeated, but you only call that in a single other function, and you never use it anywhere else. Well, put in a local function. It's a lot cleaner, and it makes things readable. You can define the local function anywhere you want. I'll share a link to the docs for local functions at the end of this. Why not? And yeah, so if you've been scared of delegates because you heard not great for the heap because they start taking your memory and all that, consider these. Do note local functions will convert into our accursed delegates, also known as lambdas. I hate that they mean the same thing. Why did we have to use new words? By just doing what the lambdas are doing. And yes, I will stand on the hill that you should be using the word function and not method. I know there's a difference, but they also mean the same thing. Fight me. That's my hot take, I guess. We can go with that.
They're functionally extremely similar.
My real hot take was that if you use ChatGPT for programming, you're a coward and weakling, but I had to make an actual slide.
I'm curious if did the mic even record that?
GPT to program.
Yeah.
You can definitely, just go take just look it up, dude.
All right.
We're gonna cut that part.
Now we're not cutting anything. Don't worry.
Okay, yes.
Now, of course, we can't end this without the ultimate hot take debate.
That's also a joke, dog. I'm not serious.
Same line versus new line curly braces. Now, this is a really decisive situation. Let's talk about their pros. Same line. Takes up less space. You now have less lines in your code. Some people like that. There's less spaces. There's less white space between the connected lines. Everything's more condensed. And you can, like a function or if statement can have its body connected to it and not have that little gap. That makes it more readable. If your IDE has those little dotted lines to tell you where all the scopes are, they still work with same lines. So it doesn't break those for most IDEs that I've
Okay,
used.
what's incredibly
And
annoying,
arguably, it's more readable. Now, of course,
what's really annoying is that the C++ correction will let you do same line, but the C# one forces me to do new line.
New line's better anyway.
You can change your IDE to set those up because it's always the IDE and the default settings. Now, of course, yeah, new line, there is some obvious advantages. It's very clear. There's more white space, and you might want that. Also, it makes the dots in the IDE line up a little bit better because they're actually connected to the curly braces instead of the start of the line. And arguably, they're more readable.
You know why it's actually more readable? Because you can see if you're especially in like programming languages just like Dart where you have like so many layers. Having it like that, you can see the layers of what's the word?
You say that, yet Dart uses same line as its default.
Yeah.
Curious.
No, but it's so stupid it does that because if you do it properly, you can see how many layers of
nested.
How nested you are. You can physically see the start and end of each line, and then there's a nice gap between each nest, and you can just so easily see between them.
Yeah, but hear me out.
The start and the finish. You don't just need to be like, here's line of code. That's the start. It's like, well, no. Why isn't it? Two separate start and finish is two separate things. And you have if.
If anyone in chat wants to give us their reason for which one they follow, you're also up for the mic. But I'll say, you get too much white space. Why are you inflating your line count? Are you trying to appeal to Elon Musk?
He's getting paid by the line.
He's getting paid by the line. No.
I personally don't care about the line count. I do it because I can actually read my code.
Okay, you know what? I'll be fair. We're all wrong because guess what? This is the true answer. This does work in C++, by the way, and that code we wrote right there does function in C++.
I'm sorry, void func. Sorry, the function name is bracket %.
No, bracket % is an alternative for curly braces. It's completely valid.
The true answer is not actually using curly braces, but using smaller than percentage. That's actually a thing you can do, and it's kind of nasty. And obviously the right syntax is, as seen on the right, aligning all your curly braces to the right side of your code.
JJ, why?
Hey! At least we're not doing the semicolons that way. Shout out to the people who remember that meme.
Oh yeah, freaking what's his face? I'll never forget that Mitch. Sorry, yeah, continue. People.
No, that's about it. You can give your example while we just say, hey, if you have any hot takes, write it in chat or just say it out loud. Yeah, you were saying?
Alternative syntax.
Yeah, Leo, you wanted to say something?
No, I just remember Mitch submitting a programming assignment in first year, and he used define on so many things, and like type def, he wrote like type def int screw this assignment, so that
if you wanna kind of explore the world of the most cursed code ever, we do have a cursed code channel that kind of died, but it has a lot of what we're talking about right now of the kind of memey hot takes kind of that aren't really hot. They're very cold. Yeah.
Cursed code.
So yeah, check out cursed code if you want to see that. I see Am has been typing something.
Dereferenceable function pointers.
Yeah.
I'm typing up I'm typing up some pseudocode example of the guard cases that I'm talking about.
Okay, yeah, the guard faces. Okay. Well, while you type that out, I assume not too many people have anything they want to bring up. No? Then for that, let's just call it a day. I'm going to have some closing announcements for the people that are here so they can prepare. So, our Mech Jam will be running in 2 weeks, as Leo has said. So that will be at the end of reading week on February 24th to 25th, I believe. And if you're interested in participating in Ubisoft Next, we will strongly recommend you try that out. Why? Because getting practice in the Ubisoft Next API is very important if you want to, do good on it. And to help with this, next week we'll be running our help session as per usual. But we're also going to have a little bit of a talk and retrospective on all the tips and tricks we've learned about Ubisoft Next and go over all of it so that you know what you're capable of, you're allowed doing, and what things you can do to prepare yourself for the event. Because it's a really exciting thing that we want a lot of GPC representation in, you could say. So yeah, and we're gonna just share this right now. Yes, you are allowed writing code beforehand, even documentation. So write all your engine stuff, like your scene system, your ent wrapper, etc. All of that is completely valid. The judge said so himself, so they have that on recording. So
It's a library you wrote yourself.
no, I'm pretty. It has to be like actual code. Like obviously, when they say library, they mean like libs
Okay.
attached like things.
Okay.
Write the code by yourself. Don't copy paste. Be careful with self plagiarism. I recommend you still rewrite your stuff because by rewriting your own code, you're gonna realize mistakes you might have missed as you wrote it. Like I know I wrote a Vector 3 class for my first Next submission, and then for the second time I tried Next, I rewrote it and realized, man, I could have optimized a lot of this, and then optimized it so that I would be ready. And then I did not do Next because I was busy. So yeah, so prepare some code for your next API. You have 2 weeks before the Mech Jam, 3 weeks before the actual Ubisoft Next competition. So just imagine that the Mech Jam is Ubisoft Next to get that motivation going before you let procrastination get to you, and then you don't have anything ready for Ubisoft Next, and then you gotta crunch. So yeah. And because we're spreading this, obviously we need to stand by our word. A few of us execs, maybe even all of us, who knows, we'll be doing a little bit of our own work into Next. So we'll be able to talk about our own like things we've learned as we worked with the API. We can't exactly share the code we wrote, but we can share the tips and tricks of like, oh, I think my next API needs this type of thing. Like I said, a scene system, end system, etc. So yeah. That's what we want to say. So get on with get working on that if you are interested in that event, because you know it's good to have. And if you're ever applying to Ubisoft, they said it themselves. Even if you don't win, they still have your project on hand. So if ever you apply, they can say, "Hey, we already have your code. We have a better or worse, probably better if you're actually submitting it, opinion on you." Always a good thing to have in the industry. Oh, and AM has shared their guard clause. Yeah, so instead of, I'll share it if you don't mind. Ooh.
Yep, go ahead.
Instead of nesting all the if statements, they just use actual return statements. And you just gotta invert it. That's, yeah, the guard clause. It's very helpful. I've actually used it myself. The best one being if you have a function where everything should only work if a single thing is null. Like if the parameters are transform and if it's null, just close the entire thing. Just start out with if transform equals null, return, and then bam, your code is now no longer nested by one layer. It's complete because you know you're saving. And you also put the return on the same line, which is even more condensed. Same line.
Yes.
Same line right there.
Sometimes there are cases where you have to separate it out like this, where like another condition might depend on the code that is run after the first condition. In which case you do need to separate out like this. But yes, if you can put it onto one line, then you're only doing a single if.
I will actually mention though, this actually came to mind as I looked at your code. I believe in some languages, the conditions are like functional. I can't remember if this exactly works, but I believe if everything is an or. So if I do it like this. Like this is for if like it was just nested without any extra code in between. I believe this will also just ignore any subsequent condition. So what would happen? I just realized I'm gonna fucking spoiler everything. So let me just.
Just do backslash.
Or the backspace.
Just do a backslash.
No, this is easier. So what's happening is that if this condition is, or if condition is false, and then it triggers a not, and that becomes true, it'll just skip everything here and just go to the return because it's using or. So it knows that.
Yes.
If I
Some languages will optimize that, yes.
You only do 2, so you'd have to do if condition or brackets condition or bracket another condition or yet another condition.
This is just yeah.
First we balance it back, I think.
This should work though. If you wanna play it safe, you can add a parentheses like this, and it'll ensure.
I think you have to do that.
Like that'll ensure the first condition happens, And the reason why you want to do that is because you want to skip everything else. It skips all the code. Same thing works with the AND. If the first one is false, it'll just skip everything else and return false. That's really helpful if you're doing stuff like a null reference check. So you have like a transform that if trans equal null and trans dot parent does not equal null. This will not return a null error if you have your transform set as null, because the first condition will immediately kick it out of the if statement, and then, but if it's true, it'll actually allow the trans dot parent.
So you that to be not equals no.
Yeah, I realized I actually wrote that wrong. Whoops, ignore that. Yeah, and in this case, if trans does not equal null, then it'll check the next condition, otherwise it'll exit. And this is a nice thing, instead of having to write this, which some people may have been doing beforehand. I am guilty of this.
Transparent.
Because like,
Yeah, lots of ways to optimize your ifs.
now of course the ultimate option would be figuring out a way to do it without using if statements. Fun fact, Unity does have this thing where if you have a mono behavior, I'm going to just call this a gun. If you add a question mark before your function call, it actually does a null check. If gun is null, it will not call the shoot function. I don't know how optimized this is, but it's clean code.
Gun?
Gun? You can actually try that out yourself. Have a mono. This is a C# thing, I'm pretty sure.
I was gonna say.
Like base.
Not even base C#. It's actually specifically with.
Languages do have it, but the other C languages don't, I think.
Yeah,
I don't think it's all.
Null checking and question marks is definitely a C# thing.
This is. I found that it only works with mono behavior.
Yeah, so it's probably a Unity thing.
It's definitely a C# thing.
It's a C# thing, but Unity implemented it into mono behavior. You have to enable it in all the things you want to.
Use it.
Anyways, that's our rant on just sharing programming tips.
For null and stuff like that is definitely
Yeah.
C# thing.
Hopefully this was a good time and you learned something new, because that's what we're here for. I'm going to stop recording so we can just have a little bit of a chat, because that's what we always do.